Look, we knew that cutting rates wasn't going to really spark a whole lot here. I was among those who were out here saying that a long time ago, as many were. But I think what's kind of silly, I sit here and I start chuckling because you guys are saying rates are going to go up, and that's going to be, tell me how that's going to be great for housing. That's what I want to know, especially when all of those pay option arms that were done back in 07, early 07, and even before that, start recasting as the rates start rising a year from now. You're telling me that's going to be good for the economy?
I'm telling you,
Herb, has cutting rates like crazy been good for housing?
It hasn't. So my point is,
so it doesn't matter. So it doesn't matter. Housing is just a planet in its own orbit. It's going to have to take care of itself. You cannot solve that problem with rates. And if you try to, you've got a big inflation problem.
Herb Greenberg, how worried are you? Serious question, honest question, about credit and the stock market and risks. How worried are you at this juncture, Herb? Do you see any loosening up, or do you think we should all still be on notice, investors out there who follow us, that they should be on notice?
Well, Larry, I think the risk still remains. And suddenly to hear so many people just turning around and saying, hey, the recession's over. And, you know, by the way, the recession hasn't been declared, and by the time it's declared, of course, it may be over. It may be on its way to being over. But we haven't even seen it declared yet, and we know it's coming, and we're watching company after company, Larry, come out and tell us they're still concerned about the consumer and the economy.
No, it's because they've been burned, Herb. It's time to come out of hibernation.
I'm sorry, what planet are you on? What kind of argument is it to say that there's still concern? There's always going to be concern. You're taking, nobody on this, I'm at least not saying that, oh, the recession's over. I never agreed there was a recession to begin with. And a lot of people on this show haven't. You're just making these conclusions and then coming up with further conclusions based on your initial conclusions. That's not logic.
A lot of people on this show never thought that there would be a credit crisis, for goodness sakes. And guess what?
So what?
There was. And
what's your point? What's your point? Because Starbucks says they're having a hard time and they're blaming the credit crisis for it? Well, look at Google, look at Intel, look at all the companies who are doing great.
Hey, look, there's a we can say on the
credit. Look how many companies are doing great. I think it's wonderful. Google's doing very well. They're a very good company. It's a company-specific situation. But the whole world hasn't turned on a dime suddenly, and everything isn't just, you know, coming up rosy.
Right. The Fed is feeling better. Herb Greenberg, come to you because I know you don't buy into it, and I respect that. I respect. But part of the throw-off of the Wall Street Journal story this morning was that if the Fed doesn't see the need to cut anymore, they are feeling better, and if they're feeling better, we should feel better, and if we should feel better, then stocks should feel better. I mean, that's kind of the logic, Herb.
But nobody is coming up. I'm looking over here at Market Watch at the story that's on the top on the front page today about the CIBC World Markets forecast for oil. $200 a barrel by the year 2000. $7 a gallon gasoline. Don't you think now?
All the more reason to hike rates. All the more reason to tighten. I mean, you're arguing both sides of this, Herb. You're saying everything is terrible, it's awful, it's the end of the world, so pour the money in, and then you're complaining about what happens when we pour the money in.
Jerry, I'm just saying, well, the fact is, maybe it is both, and maybe that there's literally the rock and the hard place here, and no matter what they do, it's going to be rough sledding for more than a year.
Maybe it's inflation and deflation at the same time.
Maybe it's inflation and real inflation, and super inflation and hyperinflation.
That's the thing about the pessimistic mindset, is that it finds every possible ill that can be wrong. Not everything can go wrong at the same time.
I'm an optimistic guy. I want to be optimistic.
Herb, it's not a question of optimism or pessimism. It's just that everything you say begins with the word maybe. Maybe makes anything you say after that word true. What do you think is really going to happen?
All right, I'll tell you why. Well, I don't know. I can't see the future like you, Don. I haven't been gifted with a crystal ball. And what I do understand is nothing goes in a straight line. I'm just trying to talk common sense and reality.
More money or less money? Lower rates or higher rates? That's a simple question.
Look,
which way should they go?
I think going down is not going to help things, okay? It's not going to help things. It hasn't helped.
Okay, so they shouldn't cut more.
But Herb, you can't.